firewood has arrived. It's time to cut it up. Coming to the channel. This is LAF Space Film Fest. That's capital LAF Space Film Fest. I got my load of firewood. It has arrived. Now it's time to cut it up, slice it up, split it up, and get it in that fire to keep warm this winter. I kind of had a little problem. I didn't realize the logs that were going to show up were going to be quite so big. The chainsaw I have is an MS-290 steel. It has a 20-inch bar on it. To cut wood like this, really a 25-inch bar would work much better. I went out, looked at my local retail shops. Guess what? This has been such an unusual year, 2020. The local dealers, a lot of the steel chainsaws are not available and they can't get them. There seems to be a real shortage in chainsaws this year. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and attempt to cut these large pieces of wood with the steel MS-290 with the 20-inch bar and see how it goes. If it doesn't go well, then I'm just going to back off, roll these off to the side, wait till the larger saws come in stock, and go get me one and continue to cut it up. Thank you for coming to the channel. This is how we cut up firewood in southern Indiana. All right, let's get to cutting. Ooh, yeah. Now, one thing I have learned, an old boy on the YouTube with the saloon, Chainsaw Saloon, I think that's his name, I'm not really for sure, I'll check it. When you fire your chainsaw up, don't fire it up, start revving it up and go crazy. Let it warm up. You can really hurt your chainsaw if you don't let it warm up. And don't rev it up like it's a dirt bike either. That'll stretch your chain out. Just be cool and work the machine the way it's supposed to be worked. I think it's Steve's Chainsaw Saloon. It's a lot of work. It's a nice little handy dandy little tool right here. Helps you kind of flip the logs around and actually lift one side up so you can cut it. Works pretty good. Well, it's one piece. Mrs. Melissa getting the gas cans ready to go, getting the chain oil ready, doing the backup work for this operation. And Sammy's going to supervise like usual. Yeah, it's good to have teamwork on a situation like this. Everything counts. Sammy, I got to get you used to cutting some wood, buddy. But I know you're just being guard dog, right? You're just being a guard dog? Huh? That's right. Keep looking around. Secure the perimeter. That's it. Oh. Cutting big wood like this is always dangerous. You see that log just tried to roll? All kind of things can go wrong. Just gotta still be as safe as you can. This 20-inch bar is proven to be a challenge. Okay, as you can see, I think my chain is already starting to get dull. I noticed the chain, the saw's starting to cut a little bit crooked. I know this is an old bar that I have on there, and I probably should have bought a new bar before I tried to cut something this big. A lot of times your bar, if it's been pinched through the years, will be a little bit crooked. It's a sure sign that your saw is starting to cut crooked. Break out the old sharpener, sharpen this chain up, and see how it cuts from there. I noticed my chain started getting pretty dull pretty fast. Of course, that's a big piece of wood and it's kind of wet, and it takes a lot for a saw to go through something like that. The advantage to kind of show you guys how I sharpen my chainsaw. What I've got here, still a few years ago, come up with a chainsaw sharpener. Looks just like this right here. And if you notice, it's got an arrow on it. It has an arrow on this side, and if you flip it around, it has an arrow on this side, the other side right here. And what that is, that's a directional arrow, and that shows you which way that the file should go. So you always want to make sure you line your arrows up, filing your chain down just right. So what I do here, basically, it's like a stump, a vise, chainsaw vise, and I mount it to the top of the wood. Lay my chainsaw on top of it, the bungee cords that kind of hold the back. This vise holds the bar, and now I'm able to work with the chain itself. I always want to put my gloves on. A chain may seem dull, it's still sharp. It's just dull when it goes through wood. Always unplug the spark plug so the chain, there's no chance that the chainsaw will fire up and run. I will mark a tooth on here, and I'll just take a black Sharpie and I'll black it out. And so as I work around, when that tooth comes back again, I'll know I've completed the cycle, and then I turn around and do the other side. On your sharpener, now there are a lot of videos on YouTube about how to use the sharpener, and Steve Saloon, Chainsaw Saloon, he's got a very good. I'm going to kind of go through it quickly, but if you really want to grind the details and you really want to watch how an entire chain is sharpened, to his YouTube channel, he'll show you how. Well, this is the kind of just a quick version of it. I have teeth on here that are going this way, and then the other tooth is going this way. So back and forth, back and forth. They alternate back and forth. Is I want to lay this sharpener down, the arrow. Once again, the arrow is pointed in the correct direction. I forgot something. Bad me. Get them safety glasses on, fool. Sharpening tool fits right on the tooth, going this way, slanted. What you'll do is you will push and kind of release, push, release, push, release, push, release, push, release. You do that to every tooth on this side, then I'll flip around and get to the other side, and I'll do it the exact same way. Keep track of how many times you file each tooth. So if this one here I do 5 times, I kind of want to do 5 on each one. And that way the saw will be balanced. The chain will be balanced correctly that way. Okay, then I'll go to the next one. Always want to keep the tool in the proper angle. Just keep it in the same angle each time. There's a couple marks on here that kind of show you where it should be. You know, you don't want it, you don't want it straight, and you don't want it too much of an angle. You lay it in there, there's a couple marks here that show you the parallel plane, and you just use those, and each time you cut and then release, cut, release, cut, release, cut, just like that. It's always a good idea to put your chain lock on. So I've got it on now and the chain holds stable so I can cut. I release it, pull the chain up to where it needs to be, set my lock again, and then I can go down through these. Really an excellent tool that Stihl has come up with. Okay, sharpening that chain really seemed to help. It's starting to slice really good. It's cutting straight. So I'm happy with the way the operation is going at this point. Part of the wood collecting operation. Small sticks. Miss Melissa has her helper there, Sammy. Okay, as you can see, sharpening that chain really worked well. And in fact, what's a little bit odd is it almost seemed like the saw cut better once I used that sharpener on it than the chain right out of the box. Not sure why, but that's the way it needs to go. Nice and smooth. Bar was going straight. Worked out pretty good. So before I go ahead and cut any more, I think I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it one more time. Just get into those other larger pieces down there that I've got to cut. So I'm pretty happy with the operation. Started a little bit rough, didn't think the saw was going to be able to do it, but if you just work it, just keep working it, It's all about the feel. When it comes to a chainsaw, it's all about feeling that chain and applying pressure, but not too much pressure. It's just a balance. And the only way you'll ever know that is to get out and cut yourself and realize that you just let that saw do the work. Let it go on down, go on down. And you can always tell when your chain starts to get dull, because it should be throwing out little pieces of wood, not sawdust. It should be throwing out small slivers of wood when you start to cut. As the chain starts to dull, those little pieces of wood, those little slivers of wood that are peeling off, will get smaller and smaller before you notice. If you look down as you're cutting, it almost looks like just pure sawdust is coming out. At that point right there, you know that chain is probably starting to get worn down and needs to be sharpened. All depends on what kind of chain you have. You have standard chains, and then you have aggressive chains. This one I've got in here is an aggressive chain, so it's going to throw some chunks of wood out behind you. It's really digging. You also have to be careful though, that if you don't know what you're doing, don't get an aggressive chain. There's a lot of times an aggressive chain will grab and kick. So that saw, as I'm working it down, working it down, there's a lot of times where I'll feel it's wanting to chunk out at me. It's wanting to kick at me. It could kick up, it could kick out. A lot of things can happen. The more aggressive chain, the more the aggressive the teeth, the more chances of something happening. You got to hang on to it and pay attention and focus on exactly what you're doing at all times. Don't let your mind wander. Don't think about other problems. Don't think about other things. Think about that chain going through that wood and holding on to it, making sure that you walk away without being hurt. All in all, this project is turning out pretty good. I'm glad to be cutting those big pieces up. Yeah, we'll be able to keep the cabin warm now. Not have to worry about it, even if it's a cold spring, which it has been the last few years. Very cold March and into April. We'll have plenty of wood to keep the fire going. So I appreciate you coming to the channel. Now remember, have your protection, have your bibs on, have your helmet, eye protection, ear protection. Have it all ready to go if you decide to cut wood like this. I appreciate you coming to the channel. That's LAF Space Film Fest, capital LAF Space Film Fest. Don't know what the next project is, but all I got to do is look around a little bit and bam, there it is right in front of me. I hope this helps. If it does, hit that like button, subscribe if you like, and check out all the different videos I have going. I really appreciate you. You have a very good day. See you later.